We're going to be waiting just 30 seconds to let everybody settle in and come in, and then we'll get started. Thank you. Well, great, guys. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us. As more people will be joining us, they will get into the webinar. We're going to be obviously registering the webinar, and this is going to be available for afterwards. So we'll just get started. Today's topic is how brands can win with consumers by getting personal. I'm extremely honored to have with me Keelin, who I'm going to let introduce herself. Keelin, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Great to be with you. My name is Keelin McDonell. I'm a product manager on Vertex AI.
Awesome. And I'm Tommaso Vaccarella. I'm the co-founder and general manager of Connected Stories. So today's topic, again, is how brands can win with consumers by getting personal. We're going to be analyzing Connected Stories, and we're going to be analyzing also the partnership that we have with Google and how that's enabling us as a platform to really bring to life personalization at scale. But let's start with the concept of creative personalization. And well, it just works. There are plenty of studies that have measured the impact of creative personalization on advertising and marketing campaigns across the entire funnel. We are seeing up to a 50% reduction in customer acquisition cost. We are seeing an uplift in revenue, and we're also seeing effectiveness in the ROI of campaigns up to 30%. However, what brands need to get actually personal and talk in a personal way with consumers is not easy to achieve. Brands need to become, obviously, data-driven. But data-driven in all and every aspect, starting with their processes, with data-driven decisioning and optimizations, moving into also understanding the real-time behavior of users when they're exposed to creatives, but even more so, the unlocking of the efficiency in terms of creative power. And this is the main topic that we're going to be focusing on today with Keelin. However, getting to this state of personalization has not been easy. It's been a long journey for different reasons, and it's still a journey that is continuing. We're seeing, obviously, for example, the deprecation of third-party cookies, which is essentially losing signals for advertisers. We are seeing the impact of high segmentations in terms of target audiences, as well as the difficulty of leveraging real-time signals within creatives. But most of all, what we're seeing is a process when it comes to creative production that is still stuck in a waterfall aspect, more so than being agile, which is what we are promoting and what we are enabling through Connected Stories. So all these aspects have essentially led to the creation of Connected Stories, our end-to-end creative management platform, now completely powered and orchestrated by Gen AI, enables for this idea of creative personalization at scale. We launched it back in 2018. Since then, there have been so many changes done through the platform. The ones that obviously we are more excited about is how we're using now Gen AI to enable content creation at scale. Gen AI is something that back in 2018, we dreamed about. We didn't necessarily saw it coming. But since the entire revolution started over the last 2 years almost, we have seen that as essentially the missing ingredient to really be able to enable creative personalization at scale. So now the platform is essentially constituted in two different modules. One is GenAssance, which is our creative module, completely powered and orchestrated by Gen AI, which enables strategy and production of content at scale. The other module is Personify, which enables decisioning through predictive AI, orchestrating content in a much more efficient way, and then measuring through our creative intelligence module that allows for understanding user behavior and creating this very positive feedback loop that allows to feedback on such data and such information to really be able to repeat the process, strategize better, and create even better content moving forward. Just a few words on our positioning. So the way we are positioning Connected Stories more and more is essentially to be able to power the last mile of content creation. We are essentially expediting the efficiency of the content supply chain, transforming multimodal content into interactive and dynamically personalized assets, also feeding from some of the platforms like Adobe, Canva, and Figma, who are creating those content that can be also leveraged within Connected Stories, besides the fact that obviously Connected Stories can create net new content. And then streamlining the entire process, allowing for also distribution and delivery across every single channel, whether we are talking about owned media, social media, CTV, desktop and mobile, but even offline creatives. This is something that Connected Stories can really power from a content factory standpoint. But without further ado, we'd like to show you guys how our partnership with Google has enabled essentially the fruition of Connected Stories and the creation of Connected Stories for what we are essentially seeing right now. But to talk about Google's AI solutions real quick, I'll pass it on to Keelin.
Yeah. So if you're familiar with Vertex AI, this mapping might look somewhat familiar as well. But if you're new to the Google AI world, this is a mapping of Vertex AI ML, which is our end-to-end AI ML platform. And as Tommaso mentioned, there are many different products in this stack beyond just models, and I'll just kind of briefly walk you through what you're seeing here. At the foundational layer, we have our infrastructure, and this is super important not only for being able to scale across our managed services, but also offer services like tuning and other products that help you customize models. In the middle, we have that kind of model builder layer, which is where folks are actually doing things like customizing models for specific domains or use cases. So this becomes super valuable when you're thinking about applying these models to your business or content needs. And then at the top, which is kind of a newer area of exploration for us and sort of the entire industry, is the agent builder layer. And this is an area where we are building tools and APIs that help models basically extend their knowledge beyond their pre-training set. So they know things from external sources, from your own enterprise data, from your own examples. And so this is really helping us to make models even more powerful than they've even been previously. So all of this is at the kind of core of the generative AI stack. So you can see that it takes a lot of models, but a lot of features even beyond that as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Keelin. So this is a great segue for us to then explain how Connected Stories leverages the Google Cloud architecture. We are completely built on GCP. We're utilizing every sort of microservices available through GCP. Obviously, Vertex AI is the one that we're using the most, the topic of today's conversation. And as you saw, there are a lot of different solutions that power the architecture of Vertex AI, which Connected Stories then wraps within our platform, allowing for also the productization and the enablement of such solutions within Connected Stories. We saw, for example, Model Garden, we saw the Generative AI Studio and the Generative AI APIs, which we all utilize within the different components of Connected Stories to be able to bring not only a cloud-native solution to market, but a solution that can make the most out of Gen AI across the entire content creation supply chain. There are 4 key pillars, though, that we'd really like to dive in today in this webinar to really understand the power of not only connected stories, but also Google powering connected stories. And the main components will be the power of generative AI models, the data governance and responsible AI that GCP guarantees, alongside the security and IP protection and sustainability. These four key pillars are extremely important to be able to cater to enterprise needs and the enterprise clients that we are working with currently. Just a few words on the evolution of Gen AI through Google, and I'll leave it to Keelin real quick.
Yeah, so it might feel like generative AI sort of came out of nowhere, and it's certainly all happened very fast over the last year and a half. But as a quick reminder, obviously Google has a long pedigree in AI, and even generative AI, initial research in this area stretches back to 2015. So almost 10 years of developing generative AI in its earliest forms, transformers, and other sort of key technologies. So we're very excited to be farther along on this journey now, but it's been a few years here to get to this point.
Awesome. So, and that's one of the reasons why we chose to be working with Google on this. The power of the Gen AI solutions created by Google is immense, and that's what we're using within our creative studio named Jenna Sons to really be able to bring to life this effortless personalization at scale. However, we're not just using the Google generative AI models as is, because we are combining the power of Gen AI with, for example, brands' first-party data. With brands' first-party data, as well as their products, we are enabling the scalability of creating content through the use of Gen AI in a much more efficient way. So we're really allowing for the entire process to come to fruition to the studio, to be able to have brands that can scale the creative production process in a much more effective way. Which leads us to one of the most important concepts here, data protection. And Keelin, I'd love for you to talk about data protection and how Google does it.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a topic that every customer, every user has top of mind, which is it safe to use my data with LLMs? What's going to happen to the prompts that I give to these models? And this is an area that, even pre-generative AI, obviously Google and Google Cloud have been investing in data stewardship and data security for many decades at this point, but it's really become a lot more sensitive in the last few years. So a few things that we always sort of talk through with users, just to sort of lay out what the privacy landscape looks like. Number one, as we stipulate in our terms and our data processing addendum, we never use your data for training our models. So if you're using a prompt in GCP and Vertex, that data is your data. It stays in your project. We never use it for our models. So this is a super important tenet that we've held as long as we've been offering LLMs, and it's important for customers to understand that. The other sort of pieces there that are more kind of general to the GCP platform, but I think are worth reiterating, is that we've long had extensive data governance and security controls in place. This is something Cloud has a strong sort of pedigree in, but also even coming from Google on the consumer side and across kind of the businesses in Alphabet. So many people trust Google with their data, whether it's business data, personal data. And so this is just a core kind of foundational investment for us as a business. And so if you are using these products, if you're using a product powered by Gemini or any of our models, you can always rest assured that that model or that data that you're providing is not being used for any other purposes.
And that's getting to a really important concept that I'm so happy that you talked about, because this, for all the clients and enterprise brands that we're working with, becomes of primary importance. And that's why we launched what we call the brand knowledge graph. So the brand knowledge graph is essentially a vectorial environment that allows within connected stories to be able to also feed from the protection and security that GCP guarantees, to be able to feed brands data, whether we're talking about assets of any kind, multimodal assets, images and videos, as well as customer segments, as well as guidelines of any kinds, to be able to, through a RAG infrastructure, allow for the connected storage platform to fine-tune the models and generating content that are consistently on brand. And that's why the security aspect is extremely important, given the fact that you as a brand will probably make your assets available within connected storage, but rest assured that having GCP, having Google Cloud behind it allows for such a big layer of data protection and security that it's of primary importance for all the clients and customers that we work with. Another big topic is the responsibility and safetiness at the core of Vertex AI, which again, I'll let Keelin talk about.
Yeah, right after data privacy, this is probably one of the first topics that customers and users ask us about, which is how do I know that the response that I get from one of these models is going to be safe, accurate, not harmful. And this is incredibly top of mind for our research and product teams to make sure that these models are helpful, harmless, and really designed to be conducive to human productivity. So we've really, over the course of kind of developing the Gemini model in particular, evolved a lot of our responsible AI principles and safety. For one, we've overhauled a lot of our safety evaluations. And for those of you that might have worked with these models or worked in AI safety before, you know that it can be very complicated to develop reasonable safety benchmarks just because you get a lot of false positives. It's also very possible to miss a lot of criteria based off of a lot of different factors. And so we've worked with really large research teams to make sure that we have the right evals to make sure that we can test our models really, really thoroughly and give our customers peace of mind knowing that those models are going to give safe responses. Number two, we've expanded our research team so that we could do new and different research. I think initially the way that a lot of this research was formulated was testing prompts to see if models would respond in certain ways or maybe give undesirable information sometime. But as we've worked with different sorts of teams from different countries, different languages, different domains, we've really developed different sort of research practices that have helped inform the benchmarks and made our models ultimately a lot safer. And then finally, kind of leading from those two examples, this has obviously meant making a broader group of researchers, but a much more diverse group of researchers. So these are global models. We have global customers and users. We want to make sure that these models are safe for all of our users. And so we've really dedicated a lot of energy to making sure that we have a team that's in place that can represent a wide variety of needs and preferences.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Keelin, because this is an extremely important concept for us because Gemini is powering our chatbot within Connected Stories that allows for strategizing as well as personalizing content creation based on the campaign information and the brief that the clients want to be able to expand on, allowing for the Gen AI agent, in this case named Leo, to really instruct the platform and orchestrate the platform for the content creation. So on one end, it guarantees this streamlined creative process, the multimodal content creation and personalization at scale, but at the same time, thanks to how Gemini was built, it allows for an output of the entire strategies that we're creating, as well as the content they are creating, that can be safe, that can be reliable, that can really be able to be used by even the most, I would say, safety-oriented clients and brands that we work with. We work with such a variety of industry verticals. Just to name a few, they're extremely regulated, pharma, more so than finance and security services. And this really guarantees the fact that we are able to actually work with such client and able to have such a reliable solution that can guarantee the effectiveness, but also the efficiency of using Gen AI within an end-to-end platform like Connected Stories is. Because also Gemini that you're seeing in this very quick, I would say, video on the slide is also instructing the way the studio creates the content. So also the prompts that are essentially automated and pre-engineered, really stick to those levels of reliability, safety and security, and compliance that can then enable content creation at scale without necessarily worrying about the safetiness that those content will then guarantee. Besides the fact that connected storage also allows for complete control over the output that is created through what we call a live preview suite, which are not necessarily seeing in this video right there, but they can enable and streamline actually the entire content approval process, leaving comments, accepting and not accepting some of the content that have been produced, whether by just a classic user working on the platform more so than Gen AI, which again allows for that extra layer of security and compliance and enabling brands to retain control over what's created. Just to touch on another topic, which is extremely dear to all our brands and enterprise clients, IP protection. So with that, I'll leave it once again to Keelin to talk about it.
Yeah, this one goes right hand in hand with data governance, which is questions and concerns about, what happens if the model responds in some way and there's some concern about the content. What can Google do to ensure that happens as little as possible, and what can Google do to protect me if it does happen? So I think principle number one is that we operate from the point of view that the best case scenario is that this never happens, and so we're very careful about the data that we use to tune these models. We have built-in protections and techniques to ensure that copyright material, protected material, is not included in anything that we train the model with. By not including it in the training material, that means it's very unlikely to come out in the response. But of course, one of the characteristics of these models is that they're not necessarily deterministic. So sometimes we're a little bit surprised by performance of these LLMs in the industry. So on the other front, what happens if something comes out that I don't want? Google offers two-part indemnification across different modalities, meaning whether we're operating in images or text, you have this protection. And really what this means is that if somebody comes after you with a claim around copyright related to the output of a Google model or related to implications around the training set of these models, Google will protect you. So this is a huge peace of mind, especially as LLMs are such a new technology. I know so many of us are sort of just getting used to adopting them into our workflows and have many, many questions. It really makes most enterprise customers feel a lot more comfortable knowing that Google has that backup. And then the final piece is recitation checks, which you can basically think of as sources for the material. So Google models go out of their way not to replicate existing content, and they will also provide links back to source content if they're sourcing information from a particular website or source. So this gives the end consumer peace of mind just in terms of understanding where a particular answer or piece of information might have been derived from in the training set.
Which I think, Keelin, brings us to the concept of sustainability here.
Yeah, absolutely. So finally, this is a great kind of pillar to end on, which is, we're talking about models that obviously are using a lot of memory, a lot of compute. You've probably heard a lot about GPUs in the last few years, maybe more than you've wanted to know. So how does Google make this business sustainable and work given, our sustainability efforts across Alphabet? So number one is digital sustainability, meaning that we invest in hardware that it ultimately allows us to be a lot more efficient with the computers that we run. So this can be anything from the TPU chips that we build to just how we design data centers so that our models are a lot more efficient. The second piece is just sustainable value chains. So sustainability isn't just about compute or about particular resources. It's about looking up and down all the purchases, all the sites, everything that Google and Alphabet do to make sure that we're sustainable across the board. And then other areas that we're also investing in, obviously ESG process transformation. This is an emerging area that we continue to try to lead in. And then leading as a researcher in climate risk and resilience. So this is an area where we've invested from a product perspective and things like Google Earth Engine, but also just in terms of how we sort of design our own sort of broader corporate commitments to sustainability and reducing our ecological impact at the end of the day.
Which is something that is extremely important also for us, Keelin, as you know. Obviously, sustainability is something that we inherit from working with and being built on GCP, but also the connected storage platform has been fine-tuned and built to be able to be sustainable. So all the content that are generated through connected storage, whether we're talking about strategies, whether we're talking about the content in terms of images and copies themselves, are really optimized and not to be essentially wasting any extra power as necessary, right? So also the way we are working in terms of allowing for real-time personalization through the user predictive AI, as well as the automated dynamic assembly, really allows us to build just the many assets that we need, but not more than that in a certain way, so that we are essentially committing to sustainability ourselves. So this is something that, again, through our partnership with Google, we are able to guarantee and bring to the table, and it's an extremely important, obviously, topic for us. Just to conclude, so what's ahead? Keelin, I don't know whether you can share with any of the secrets of Google and Vertex AI currently. Obviously, on our end, as we when we started back in 2018, video had always been at the center of connected storage, video personalization. So we are extremely excited to actually be trusted testers of Google and Google Cloud, getting access and priority access to all their new features, such as, for example, text to live, which was recently announced at Google Cloud Next back in April in Vegas. We are among just a few global partners selected in the world to started the integration of text to live, and we're seeing such an amount of extreme and fast evolution when it comes to video Gen AI, and we're extremely excited to bring that to life and for commercial use in a very short period of time. Keelin, I don't know whether you can comment on any of the other cool things that you guys are cooking right now.
Yeah, a few that are probably relevant to your audience that we announced at Next and IO. Speaking of video, number one would be Veo. We don't quite have this on Vertex yet. This is a model coming out of our DeepMind office. But once that comes out here in the coming months, I think that'll be super exciting. The other update is we have a new version of Imagine, which is our image generation model, Imagine 3, that we pre-announced a few weeks ago. That'll be coming out this summer. So we've just seen rapid iteration on these models, rapid improvement, as well as new modalities, and I'm sure you'll hear a lot more to come.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Keelin. Thank you so much. Folks, we have, I don't know if we have any questions here for to end the session. We are extremely on time. So if you have any questions on the chat, we'd be able to answer a few of those. So I don't see that we have any particular questions. So with that, I'm gonna thank Keelin for joining us. Keelin, it was great, really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And shout out to Christina, who is our marketing coordinator, who helped setting the entire session up. Thank you, everybody. The session will be available shortly online. Thank you, everybody.